Let us go rejoicing to the house of the Lord. We have also here from the book of the prophet Isaiah. Let's see here. That's odd. Sorry, I got confused. There are two first readings here. Anyways, we have from Isaiah, O house of Jacob, come, let us walk in the light of the Lord. And in the gospel, I say to you, many will come from the east and the west and will recline with Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob at the banquet of the kingdom of heaven. All of these readings speak of a journey, a movement from where we are to where we want to go, from this world to heaven, from the Gentiles to the fullness of God's revelation in the kingdom of heaven, in Jerusalem, the new Jerusalem. How do we begin that journey? How do we know that we're on the right way, and how is it that we arrive at where we want to go? Let us stand in the house of the Lord. Let us go rejoicing to the house of God. And now we are rejoicing, for our feet are standing in your courts, O Jerusalem. We celebrate today a man of great teaching of the faith. And even here, Jesus speaks of authority or will. And these are the two cornerstones of the two utilities that are used for us to go from where we are to where we want to go from this world to heaven, from vice to virtue, from sin to grace. And it is knowledge or truth and charity or will. Truth and charity, these two things that must go hand in hand. Truth without charity is brutal. It's enslaving. It is the first covenant, the first revelation. Charity without truth is a frenetic energy that just consumes whatever it happens to be whatever tries to contain it. It becomes reckless. It becomes permissive and destructive. Right? So truth directs charity, and charity is the energy or the locomotion by which one traverses the footsteps of truth. So when we look at this, we want to say, okay, truth is perhaps the cobblestones that lay out the path that I should take. But so many people know a lot about God, right? But are just so far from the kingdom of heaven. Look at Jesuits, right? Jesuits know a lot about God. But generally speaking, no, I'm sorry, I'm just kidding. Theologians in general, though, are themselves in a great deal of danger. People who study God as if he's a subject or an object to be studied, and not a person to be known that they might be loved. There are a lot of people who know a lot of stuff about God and about the church and about truth. What that means for them is that they can see the course from where they are all the way up to the mountain of God. They can see the path they must walk to go from where they are to the heart of Jesus. But because it's merely an academic exercise for them, they never move from where they are to where they go. Because they don't have the fire of charity that compels, that propels us along the path. So we need to know who God is. We need to know what he's told us about himself. We need to know what the truths of him who dwells within the church, that the church herself proposes of him. We need to know those things because that lays out the direction and the pathway that we should take. But it is not enough to know. We must also move and put our foot to that path, and to put one foot in front of the other and one foot in front of the other until we get to where we want to go. And the energy by which we do that is nothing less than charity itself. To love. The activity of charity moves us along a path. As I said before, if that path is not marked out for us by the truth of the gospel and the revelation of God, charity will compel us someplace and drive us right into hell. Because charity without truth is nothing but an explosive atomic energy. It can be used to power cities, or it can be used to destroy cities. God himself is love, and if we try to emulate him without knowing who he is, we try to use love without truth, well, we essentially get what we're fighting today, a permissive culture that seeks a person's affirming a person's sinful inclinations so that they feel good, and calling that love, as that same force drives them and those who affirm them straight into hell. Right? And so these two things must go hand in hand. They cannot be separated. To separate one from the other is to cause each to become destructive. When you know the path and don't walk it, you're responsible for not having arrived. When you are responsible for your ignorance because the truth has been there and you were too lazy to find it, and yet you were driven to explosion by a desire of charity, you're responsible for that as well. But the church herself, within the church, we find the perfect unity of both. To try to do this outside of the church is a fool's errand. Only in the church do we find the perfect, effective unity of truth and charity, because only in the church do we find the Christ who is called by John both love and truth. And it is only in this one holy Catholic and Apostolic Church that we have the fullness of the revelation and the presence of that truth and charity, bound together in the sacrament of the Eucharist, given to us that we might have both truth and charity for ourselves, within ourselves, and having been given us within ourselves, that we might give birth to it, also therefore for others. It is the joy of every human heart to be able to say, we will go up to the house of the Lord, and now we have set our feet within your gates, O Jerusalem. Let us therefore go rejoicing to the house of the Lord. It is important for us to realize that Jesus came that those that those from the east and the west and the north and the south might come and recline at table with Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob in the kingdom of heaven. There is a path to be walked and an energy by which we are to walk it. We must therefore cling to both the truth of the gospel revealed by Jesus Christ and articulated in the church, and run that course with the charity that is exemplified by Christ on the cross. No greater charity has any man than to lay down his life for his friend. So that every time we practice charity, that self-denial, that self-death for the good of another person, we are speeding our way along the path of truth which has been revealed for us, so that we will in due time, but assuredly, end in the kingdom of heaven.